Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So as you may or may not know, Donut Dodo doesn't really work that well on the Super Pocket due to button mapping issues. But what about the rest of the games? Is it still worth buying this cart even though there's an issue with that game? Let's have a look. Okay guys, so let's have a look at Indie Heroes 3. Now if you've already watched my review video for the Evercade, EXP, VS and other products, you'll know that Donut Dodo does have mapping issues for the Super Pocket. So we're going to have a look at that, we'll discuss it a little bit, and we'll look at the other games and discuss, is it worth buying still even though there's issues with that game. There's 13 games, obviously there's 12 other games, there's plenty of quality on this. Even though Donut Dodo is certainly one of the best games on this collection, no doubt about it. Now I'm pretty sure it will get fixed at some point. I know they are working on it, Blaze, along with Cathedral as well, and maybe some other fixes. So fingers crossed that doesn't take too long to happen. But as it stands, you're basically going to be down one game until that fix happens. So let's have a look at the rest of the games and see if there's any other issues that stop this cart from being decent on your Super Pocket. Okay, so as you know, Donut Dodo does not work very well, but we'll have a quick look at it anyway. Basically the button mapping is all over the place. I'm not sure what's going on, why that happened, but it is happening, and it basically makes the game completely unplayable. Now, not sure what buttons start. So the Y button inserts the coins for some reason, and that's the pause button as well. So that's obviously start button. Left and right is start and select. And I think one of the shoulder buttons is jump, so you could probably try and play it, but it's going to be an absolute nightmare. And I don't know what the up button is to go up the ladders, not entirely sure. But yeah, basically it's unplayable. Let's have a look at some of the other games. Okay, let's have a look at some of the other games. So Alien Cat 2, let's have a look at that. Now one of the issues with this one is probably the small text, but overall it should be absolutely fine. You've got small characters and stuff in the game, but I think it should be absolutely fine. This is probably one of the better games as well on this collection. It's pretty cool. It's basically an enhanced version of the Indie Heroes 1 game. I think there's about 10 plus new levels, which is pretty crazy. It just keeps going on near the end. And it's a nice little puzzle style game that I really enjoyed on the first collection, and it's basically more of the same. Not sure about the sound though. I think the sound's a little bit worse in my opinion. Just feels a little bit more tinny. That's not Super Pocket issue, that's just how the game is. But yeah, you see the graphics are maybe a little bit small, but certainly playable. I think not massive issues. I think if you get issues with your eyesight then it might be problematic, but overall I think it should be absolutely fine for you. Obviously when you get to the later levels it might be a bit tricky to see everything. It might be a slight eye strain, and this is one of the later levels and it's very, very tricky. You need to take one little step at a time as you try to obviously capture all the objects. I guess they're meant to be ship parts. Said SHIP just in case you get hard of hearing. Yeah, so get all the ship parts to repair your crashed ship, and then you can escape and get back to your home planet, that type of thing. Excellent game, just maybe a little bit small on the graphic side, but still really playable. Okay, on to Big Too Small. This is another puzzle style game, and I absolutely love this title. It certainly stretches your brain cells to the max, especially the later levels. Can be a bit frustrating, but you'll probably sleep on it, get up in the morning, try again, and you might just succeed. Just by fluke or just pure genius, I'm not entirely sure. But excellent game, I think it's fantastic. And you see there, it probably is perfect for the Super Pocket. The text is completely fine, the graphics are all big enough and it's fine. It works perfectly on the Super Pocket, in my opinion. And if you like your puzzle games, I think you'll probably love this. I think it's fantastic. So you obviously need to get all the animals onto the respective fruits that they like, or foodstuffs even. And obviously you need to use a combination of all of them. You press left and right, this animal keeps on moving type of thing. It's a great game. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Might be one of the best games in the cart in my opinion, and it works fantastic on the Super Pocket. Okay, next up is Bone Marrow. This is a sort of 3's style game. I think it's Mega Drive, so this one should be absolutely fine on the Super Pocket. Apart from maybe the text is maybe a tad small, and there's maybe another issue that I'll have a look at as well. Let's maybe jump straight to a save state to get quick moving. Now, probably one of the biggest issues here is trying to see the values on the different objects there. You can barely make out what the number is. So if you're obviously trying to match up the same number and style of item you've got there, it's a little bit hard to see. But other than that, it's actually fine. It's a decent enough game, but it does get a little bit boring. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to actually get going till you set up the sort of end sort of boss fights, but once it gets going it's pretty good. Okay, next up is Bubble Seahorse Adventures. This is another natively running game, so let's check this one out, make sure it actually works on the Super Pocket, because obviously Donut Dodo has issues. Does this one have issues? Well, as you can probably see on the main screen here, the sort of text across the screen is very squashed, and it does make it a little bit difficult to read. Not a massive problem, because you're not going to be reading a lot of text in this game, but even if you look at the graphics here, it is very squashed up. But let's see, does the game play fine? And don't even try to read some of that, I think that's just a nightmare. But anyway, let's have a look, let's play the game. Does it play fine? Do I play fine? Nope. Let's try again. So basically jump and shoot, pretty simple stuff. And yeah, graphically it looks fine in the actual game, just the text is unreadable for me, but the gameplay, it's fine, you'll get away with it, it's absolutely fine. It's actually a really good fun game as well. Okay, next up we've got another puzzle game. This is Cho Cho Mimik, and this is from Low Tech Games that made the fantastic flea and tapeworm disco puzzle. Does this game work on your Super Pocket? Let's find out. Let's jump to a save state just to make it quick purposes. So it's certainly fine, the graphics are reasonable, that should make it fine for the Super Pocket. I think it should be fine, yeah. Let's have a just quickly play so you can see. Controls fine, graphics are fine, I don't see any massive issues, to be honest. It's certainly better than, I guess, Alien Cat. It's a little bit more legible and you can see it a little bit better. It's absolutely fine. If you like your puzzle games, you'll probably like the challenge within this. It is pretty cool. Okay, next up we're looking at Chubby Monster Brawl. Now this one, I can probably tell you right now, it's just a no-go, because this is meant as a 4-player game only on the VS, I would say. And one of the main issues with this game is, probably for your Super Pocket, is, as you can see here, the graphics are tiny. So realistically, it's unplayable, and it's a bit of a pointless game, to be honest. If you're not playing against friends, it's really a little bit pointless. You can just about make out the graphics, but they are very, very small. And if you've got bad eyesight, then this is definitely not a game you're going to be sitting playing on this Super Pocket, that's for sure. And as I said, it's really meant as a 4-player game, maybe even a 2-player, 3-player, 4-player game on the VS. On a single-player platform, nah, it's just no point in it at all. Okay, next up we're looking at Doodle World Redrawn. This is obviously a follow-up to the Doodle World on Indie Heroes 1. It's basically the same game, but there's added things, slightly different level designs, and obviously you've got a double jump as well. But it's more or less the same game, and it plays absolutely fine on the Super Pocket. Maybe only issue I would see is the sort of main character is pretty small, but it's not the worst. It's perfectly fine and playable. Just bear in mind there is some slowdown at some points throughout the game, especially in some of the boss battles, and that's not going to be a Super Pocket issue. That is really like an original ROM issue. The same thing happens in other platforms as well, so it's not an Evercade issue, not a Super Pocket issue. It's just the way the game's sort of been designed. There's massive slowdown on this, but it's still a fun game, especially for kids. I would say if you've got kids with your Super Pocket, introduce them to this, they'll absolutely love it. Okay, so we've got the Game Boy Color game. This is Magic and Legend Time Nights. And as you can see with the graphics, this one's going to be perfect for the Super Pocket. Given the fact it's a Game Boy game, or Game Boy Color game, it's the perfect size screen for it. You can read the text perfectly fine, and gameplay will be fine as well. It's just a shame the game isn't really that great, to be honest. It's a little bit boring, and I didn't really get an awful lot of enjoyment out of it. So it's really up to you want to play it or not, but for me it's boring. So it does actually improve in the later levels. Like the last few levels are more challenging and certainly more enjoyable. Just the early levels are a bit lame. I certainly didn't enjoy it, and this game is running on the GB Studio, so it's certainly a little bit basic, but you'll get some minimal fun from it anyway. But you'll probably complete it in about 20 to 30 minutes, which is not ideal. Okay, next up is Binder's Tale, or Body's Binder's Tale. This is a NES title, and it's a little bit like a Mega Man style game, and it's actually not bad. It certainly seems to fit the Super Pocket really well. I don't see any massive issues with it. It is pretty challenging, to be honest, so obviously bear with it. You maybe want to utilise those save states quite often, but this one's alright, it's certainly fine. No massive issues on the Super Pocket at all. Okay, next up, another NES title. This is Skate Cat, from the makers of Kubo 3. You might recognise that from Indie Heroes 1 as well, from SJ Games. And this one's alright. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest, but does it work on the Super Pocket? Let's have a look. Also, just like Doodle World, this one does suffer from massive slowdown here and there, and at times it can stop the game from being enjoyable, because you get slowed down when you're trying to do jumps, and it certainly causes some issues. Graphically it's fine. You can see the text there was absolutely fine to read. No massive issues there. The graphics are decent enough, they're big enough to be sort of perfectly viewable on the tiny screen. But you can see there was some slowdown that caused me to take a hit, and I'm not sure. I don't think this is a great game at all, but I'm sure there'll be people out there that will really love it. Personally, I don't. I get a bit fed up, and that slowdown certainly doesn't help me one bit. And you can see that it's really bad when you're going through this sewer section, and this is only the second level of the game, which obviously isn't ideal, but yeah, I'm not great at it. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think it's a great game at all, but it's perfectly fine on the Super Pocket. Okay, next up we've got the Little Tales of Alexandria. This is clearly a Game Boy title, and there's not really a lot of game here, to be honest. But as you can see, it's a Game Boy game. It's going to be perfectly fine for the Super Pocket. The only issue I think I have is there any point to this game? Not really. It's more or less an adventure walking simulator, so to speak, for the Super Pocket. The text is absolutely fine, graphics are fine. I just don't think there's a great game here, but there's no issues on the Super Pocket. Okay guys, so the last game we've got is Thunderpot. I think this is a Mega Drive title, and it's a sort of a run and gun platforming style game. You need to destroy all the enemies on each of the levels and collect bones as well if you want to, for extra points. And this one's not bad. There is some small text, as you can see at the top of the screen, but I think it's okay. It's still perfectly fine for the Super Pocket. I don't think there'll be any major issues at all. It's a nice little game, to be honest. Certainly one of the better games on the collection. I really enjoyed playing through it. It is very challenging, so just bear that in mind. You'll certainly want to be utilising those save states often as you go through the game, especially for the boss battles. They are pretty tough at times, or maybe it's just me, but it's a really cool game. I think it's fantastic, and I don't see any issues here on the Super Pocket at all. Okay guys, so as you can see, there's some really good games here, and most of them work perfectly fine for the Super Pocket. It really is up to you. Do you still want to buy it, even though you know one of the best games, Donut Dodo, does not work? It's got button mapping issues. At present, I would say I would wait until that fix is in place before buying this cart. I'm pretty sure that fix will be in place very soon, and you'll be able to play this. So keep an eye on the channel. Once that fix is in place, I will update the video and we can look at it. Hopefully it's not too long, but as it stands, I would say probably hold off buying this till this fix is in place for sure. It's a decent cart, but one of the best games doesn't work, so that ain't ideal. Thanks very much for watching. Catch you again next one. Bye for now.